well. Okay, I've never had that happen. Did y'all hear that, or was it just me? This meeting's being recorded. I'm like, that's never happened before. Okay, we're being recorded. Okay, so as we get started, I have a couple of things for you. We started this month. It's kind of crazy that it's May 31st. We're moving into June, but we started May with gratitude. And we wanted the whole month of May to be a month of gratitude. We've been doing our points for 2 weeks. We prepared at least, 2 or 3 times a week of working through appreciation thank yous. I don't know if you guys have heard from people, but I have. It's been the greatest joy of hearing from people. This is what I loved. I'm hearing from people that are saying thank you to the people that are not with me anymore. Now, if you recall, I had told you in one of our calls that I was sending them even to those people. And I shared with you what my message was, that I was telling them how grateful I was for them, for my success in this business. They were part of that success. They were part of my learning. They were part of my failure, possibly. But that I still thought of them and loved them, and thank you for where we are. I haven't heard from the people that are still with me right now, but I've heard from 5 people that are not with me anymore. And it meant so much to them that I reached out to them and said something. And so we got to even converse via text, and move that even more forward. I actually had one person that even said, I'm going to record this. This is being recorded. This is Melissa. But she was like, I got a letter from you. Now, maybe she didn't say it like this because this is me saying it in her text. You know how we get our own perspective. But to me, her nose was up and a little bit negative. Like, I didn't even like Plexus. Like, and she went through why she didn't like it. Like, so I don't understand why you sent it. And so I got to come back and love her really well without punching her through the text, and tell her, well, I said, don't read any more into it than what you read. Like, she read it, but kind of back to me. And I said, I do appreciate you, and I am thankful for you, and you are part of my success. And I did learn through you, whether people love our products or don't love our products. As a leader, I learn in every single relationships and situations. So that's all it was a thank you. And then she came back and said, I have a hard time with sharing feelings. People don't think that I have emotions, but I do, because she's a hard person, obviously. But I do have emotion. Thank you for saying what you said. And I really am working on trusting. So literally, she came at me because she didn't trust me. She thought I was manipulating in some way. She didn't think I was sincere. And as I came back, hopefully with a lot of grace in a voice clip, because I wanted her to hear my voice, she realized that she's still working on trust issues. It was the craziest thing. And I had just seen her the week before. She is a friend of mine and she's hard. And so I hope that you have gotten some form of feedback on your thank yous. But if you didn't, I want you to know that they see them, that they've read them, that they hear your voice, and that it is continuing, whether it was a good response or a negative response, they're continuing to evaluate you, their trust for you, their respect for you, how they see you as a leader. They're evaluating your character. All of it is being evaluated, and it is seen and it is known. So as much as we would all love to hear from everyone that we took the hours to write to, even if you hear from one, it's enough, because it allows you to know that you're seen, that you're still getting to be known, all of those great things. And so I hope that that was good for you to go through that. But as we started our month, I really want us to end our month with gratitude. And so, you know me, I always ask you to have a pen and paper. And so I want you to pull that out. Ashley, I'm so glad you're on with us. And I want you to write down a couple of things of gratitude. The first one is, and hopefully you've already worked through some gratitude. I hope every single morning when you wake up, you work through gratitude, right? Every night before you go to bed, you work through what you're grateful for. But there's three things that I want us to talk through on gratitude. The first one is, I want you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for about your business and or about your team. So write down 3 things that you're grateful for about your business or your team. Next, I want you to write down 3 things that you learned in the month of May about yourself that you're grateful for. Could be a business, it could be personal. 3 things that you've learned about yourself that you're grateful for that learning. And then I want you to write down 3 things that you're up for the challenge for in June, and you're grateful for the challenge. 3 things that you're going to commit right now. I'm up for the challenge of learning a new skill, of growing in some way, of developing myself. 3 things that you're up for the challenge for that you've seen that you need to be challenged on, that you've seen this month, and you're up for it for June. Write down your gratitude for those 3 awarenesses. And then if you guys feel like sharing any of those, any one, all 9, any of them, you can put them into the chat so all of you can just see each other's, if that is an encouragement, or if that's something that you're saying, I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to be held accountable. So whatever you'd like to do, I'd love for you to throw that up there. That is fine, Patricia. I knew that you were probably somewhere, but keep it in your brain. Maybe even, you can write it down a little bit later once you get into the plane. Are you getting on an airplane? Or are you waiting on friends? It could be either way. Okay, so this is what I want us to talk about is leadership. As we finish this month, and we move into June, I really want you to think about leadership. And I want you to think about how you define leadership. Today is your last day. So you might even want to jot down some things of what do I need to do to really finish strong? Who do I still need to follow up with quickly? Maybe right this morning, as soon as we get off before the day gets going. That I will also want to follow up with at the end of the day, depending on what their plans are. But getting yourself out there first thing this morning is probably good. So maybe jot some of those things down. What do I need to begin to calculate or help with my team today to finish out strong? So maybe write down a couple of those things. But I want you to think about leadership. As we move into tomorrow, everybody knows tomorrow is the really big day. You have probably seen that we're going to go into maintenance later tonight in the middle of the night. So be ready for that, for some of those adjustments and those changes. We have asked you to calculate your points every day in May, because starting tomorrow, you're going to see your points really adjust and change. And that's super exciting. And the big piece of that is that your level 1s, their number went to up 1 point. So that's a big adjustment. You're going to start getting points on your customers with all of your levels down. That's a big adjustment. So you're going to start seeing these things that are going to be happening. You're also going to be getting points on PV, partial PV. So all of those things are a really big deal. And I'm excited for you. I hope that you have gratitude as you work through that. But there might be some things that you're thinking about that you need to really get on your radar for moving into June. One thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows is about our corporate calls. And that corporate has been excellent. And you might be listening to this as a recording. I feel like everybody that's on right now has probably done their part. But this is what I'm going to ask of you. You're going to see a post later today. But I don't want you to ask any questions of your upline until you have personally listened to the recording or gotten on a corporate call. It's time for you to step up as a leader. This is your business, not your upline's business. It's yours. And so often we ask questions of our upline because we didn't take the time and responsibility that is our responsibility to do our own work, homework, research, all that good stuff. So I'm going to ask that you have gotten onto one of these calls if you have questions towards it, or you listen to the recording if you had registered for it, and you take your own notes and figure those things out. And if you've done that and you've gone to the help center and you can't figure it out, that's when you ask your upline. Because as a leader of your personal business, that's what you need to do. That's your responsibility. So this is my question for you. Would you say that you're more comfortable leading or following? Honestly with yourself, are you more comfortable as a leader or as a follower? Second question is, do you consider yourself a leader? Or do you consider yourself a manager? We're going to talk a little bit about that, the difference between leadership and management. And then third, do you know the difference between leadership and management? Between being a leader and being a manager. Do you know the difference between that? And then lastly, I'm going to ask you to put these into the comments. I love seeing all these comments. Good, good, good. What are some skill sets of a leader? So you just said, I feel better as a leader or a follower. I feel better as a leader or a manager. I want to hear how you define what are those skill sets. If you think of this is a leader that I respect or look up to or want to emulate in some way, what are some of those skills? So what would some of those skill sets be of that person? And as we work through this, I want to share something with you. This is a book, The Grace Giving Leader. I think I have shared this with you before. Absolutely love it. It's by Jan Greenwood. She is a women's pastor at Gateway in South Lake, and has written several different books. And I got to hear her speak a couple of weeks ago. She's just a really incredible woman. But I wanted to read this to you. It's out of the ERV translation, which I don't even know what ERV is. I know what ESV is, so I'm not sure English, I don't know. But I love this scripture because as we talk about the differences and as I ask you how you see, like, what is a definition or skills of a leader, this is not a comparison in any way. And I want us to know that as we finish out May, as we begin June, as we make decisions on our own goals, as we have gratitude, all those different pieces, I want us to fully understand that comparison steals all of your joy and burns you out very quickly and changes perspective and brings in seeds of jealousy and bitterness and all that is not good. And so I wanted to share this as we begin this because I love this scripture in this translation that I don't know what this translation is. It says, it's from Galatians 6:4-5. Don't compare yourself with others. Just look at your own work to see if you have done anything to be proud of. I love that. Look at your own work to see if you've done anything to be proud of. That's where the gratitude comes in. We started with that gratitude piece. You must each accept the responsibilities that are yours. So this is what I love about this translation. Number one, it's a whole thing on God's word of comparison and not comparing to anyone else, but taking on your own responsibility. But I also think it's a beautiful definition of leadership. Leadership is looking at what you've done, kind of filling in the gaps. If there's some skills that you're like, I still need to learn these things to kind of lift my lid, get to the next level of leadership. But I'm also going to be proud of what I have accomplished and who I am and what God's calling me to. It's in a humble way of doing that, but it's with gratitude. And we know gratitude opens up so many doors of opportunity when we have a grateful heart. And then it says, you must accept responsibility that's yours. That is leadership. And you've heard me share so many times that when God called me into leadership, like I fought. I fought. I was in the wrestling match, a wrestling ring with the Lord in that for years, 4 years. And then I continued to wrestle a little bit several years later and had a foot in both areas of the world because I honestly didn't trust him and I didn't trust myself, to be totally honest. And so we have to come to that realization that we have responsibility. And for many of us that are like, I'm really honestly more comfortable being a follower, we have to come to the acceptance that we're all leading in some way, period. And there are leaders that are in spotlight positions, and then there are leaders that are not, that are behind the scenes, but they're still leading. And your biggest area of leadership is in your home, with your spouse, with your children, with your neighbors, with the people that you bring into your home. You are an example. And so coming to the acceptance of that is your first step of stepping into leadership. And I think in this business, why it's so important for us to talk through this is that for you to say yes to this business, guys, you're saying yes to be a leader. It's your business. You're leading it. You're the CEO of it. And so for a lot of us, we step into this business wanting to have a business, possibly just for the money, which is a great deal. Many step into this business for a huge vision, which money is going to be the seed of that. But in the end, you have to take responsibility to get the money to grow an organization. For whatever reason that you're needing the money or the vision that you have for the money, you have to lead to even receive, right? And for any of us to say, but I'm not a leader, I'd be like, okay, are you going to grow a business, or are you just here because you love the products, which is awesome, love the products. But if you're here to grow a business, you got to change and quit hiding behind the lie that you're not a leader. If you're made in the image of God and you are his chosen one, you are leading something somewhere, somehow. It could be in negative ways or positive ways, but you're leading. And so you have to come to that acceptance of knowing that, believing that, and stepping into that. And for many, you don't see success because you continue to say, no, you know what? I just like following. I'm going to keep asking my upline every single question. And I'm going to keep asking my upline and being on their, coattails so that I don't get any blame. So that everyone in my organization, I can say, well, so-and-so told me to do it that way. Well, so-and-so, well, I'm just following so-and-so. At some point, you have to step up and lead. You have to, if you want to have an organization and a business. And so I want us to realize that. I wanted to talk a little bit about that definition of leadership and what that is. A person who is in leadership, who is a leader, they're highly influential. And that's why we talk so much about adding value. Your adding value is an influence to other people. You are influencing just through your words, through your example, through your actions, through who you are. You're committed. You have high integrity, commitment, conviction of what you've been called to do, but conviction for your organization and the things that you believe that your organization, where they're going and where you're taking them. You have conviction around that. For a lot of people that are leaders, you can't sleep at night, not because you have anxiety, but because all you can think about is your people and how to help them transform. how to help them get to where they want to be. Leadership is transferring that influence, transferring that empowerment to others, helping them see that they have influence, that they are empowered. That is a great leader. It's called duplication. You are taking what you know and believe to be true as a leader, and you're transferring that, and you're developing others, and you're empowering them. So I love, it's like, I think about how we're infused as a believer, we're infused with the Holy Spirit, and then he works through us, and it's that connection. And then you're transferring that over to another person, to the other person. A leader is someone who sets vision. This is why your why is so important. And for many of you, you're like, I don't have a why, or I don't want to work on a why, or my why is so small. Okay, if you want to have a business and you want to be successful, not only do you have to have vision, which is your why, but you have to set that vision and you have to bring others along. So once again, you're acting like a follower only, just tell me what to do, which is very transactional, versus being a leader. And if you're going to be in network marketing, you need to lead. And so being able to have your vision, set that vision, know your why, help other people know yours. But there is a corporate vision that happens. Whenever I say corporate, I'm not talking about Phoenix. I'm talking about your organization, that you are leading them. One of our big visions for Passionate Pursuit is that no one is left behind, that everyone is getting their products paid for, that everyone's making enough for those products, maybe like $500 a month, that they're paying for their products, but they also have a little bit of money in their pocket for gas money, grocery money, date night, getting kiddos into activities. We want no one to be left behind. And so that's a big vision. As everyone steps into that vision, embraces that vision, I promise you will see our organization go somewhere. And so knowing that and believing that. And then I want you to understand a little bit about the difference between leading and managing. I ask you which one that you consider yourself. And I want you to understand the difference. I know Patricia was like, I totally get the difference between the two. I haven't been able to read everything, but I did see hers on that. And I love that you understand the difference, because it's a really big piece. Because leading and being in that position of leadership, it is by influence. You're leading by influence. Managing is more task oriented, it's more controlling. So you'll hear people say, as they grow their organization and they get 20 people, 25 people, 100 people, they move into management mode. You'll hear them say that. I fell into management mode, which means that they quit recruiting, they quit influencing, they quit adding value, and they started managing. They started saying, I need to put posts here. I'm going to schedule posts in these areas. I want to make sure that my team pages are where they need to be. I'm going to check on my people and see if they're recruiting people. I'm going to make sure that they know what their report looks like. Because I'm going to manage what I've got. And then I hear people say, I don't have time to do my personal recruiting. Why? Because I'm managing. They usually don't say the word manage, right? I'm managing my team. You get very task oriented. You get very controlling in that space. And not controlling, we think of, when we hear the word control, that that's very oppressive or bad. I'm talking about just controlling, of making sure where all the pieces are, like knowing where everything is, knowing what everyone else's goals are and not your own. You completely stepped out of influencing by your own character, your own example, your own action, and you went into managing other people's actions. And then you see that you stall, you lose passion, you can't recruit anymore, you question how to get back on the bicycle because you've been in this space. I will tell you, one of the worst things as a diamond ambassador in Plexus is I am awful at posting on team pages, getting my schedule post out there like I should. Because honestly, I'm doing my work first. And a lot of times, as bad as it is, I forget to get the managing pieces done. But I've come to the realization And my business page to me is my biggest page. My potential page is my next, my customer potential. But if somebody said, what's a weak link for you, or what do your other leaders like hate about you? It's probably like, Melissa never does her part. She never does her team pages. She never does the piece she's supposed to do. And I have to sit back sometimes and say, yes, I have to work on that. Yes. But I also have to say, thank goodness my recruiting and my development as a leader comes first, because it means that I'm not sitting back and just managing everybody else. Maintaining is probably, to me, one of the, where's the adventure in that? Where's the adventure of just maintaining? Where are you taking risk when you're just maintaining? Where are you growing yourself if you're just maintaining? You become very stale in that space. And so as much as I need to work on that as a leader, because I'll tell you, as a leader of a very large organization, you need to do both very, very well. But managing is not my issue. I might need to get better at that in some areas. But for a lot of us, we stall when we hit silver, gold, senior gold, because we're really good at managing other people and managing our pages and doing beautiful graphics and finding other posts to put onto our page, all that great stuff. We're really great at that, and we forgot to lead. Leading only comes by influencing, adding value, empowering other people, reminding people of what they're great at, developing in the areas that they need to develop. So I want you to think about that whenever you're like, I'm better at leading or I'm better at following. I manage better or I lead better. We have to be able to equalize it out, but leadership should always be priority of seeing the highest skill set. Does that make sense? I want to end with this because we're at 10:01, and my apologies for that. I wanted to read what John Maxwell says about leadership, and then we'll end for today. It's from his book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. It's a really great small book. It's super good. He says, to become more than the boss, people follow only because they are required to. You have to master the ability to invest in people and inspire them. That's one difference that I think about whenever I think about what's the difference between managing and leading. Managing is very transactional and leading is very relational. That is the biggest difference, transactional versus relational. He goes on to say, to grow further in your role, you must achieve results and build a team that produces. You need to help people to develop their skills to become leaders in their own right. And if you have the skill and dedication, you can reach the pinnacle of leadership, where experience will allow you to extend your influence beyond your immediate reach and time for the benefit of others. That's whenever you get to that pinnacle to where you're not only influencing and impacting, but you have developed those leaders and they're influencing and impacting. And so the reach is so far. Whenever I think about that, I think about like we get paid 7 levels down, but we go, I think, 12 levels deep. You don't get paid on all of those. I think I'm at level 11. And I think about, I don't even know those people. And there have been nights that have been sleepless nights for me on, am I leading in a way that empowers, that duplicates the right skills that the people 8, 9, 10, 11 levels down from me are doing healthy skills of leadership duplication, and they have healthy boundaries to have a sustaining business. Is that happening? And it can really give you high anxiety because you can't control any of those pieces. Or you can step back and say, I have to be my very best. I have to influence in a way that brings such impact and transformation that they take that and they duplicate that down. It's a big area for me that I don't think is happening. So what does that mean? I have to continue to learn how to influence well. I have to learn to continue to develop leaders in a way that they take it and duplicate it. If a leader or someone on your team takes what you're saying, but it doesn't develop and transform them in a way that they begin to duplicate those actions that are good and healthy, you'll never have duplication. And so I want you to think about that for yourself. What are the areas that you really need to get excellent at? And then what are the areas that you need to be transferring to your people so that they can become developed great leaders of impact and influence so that it will duplicate? That would be something that I would say maybe that's a challenge that we can all step into for the month of June, of how can we lead in a way that empowers and impacts to the point of duplication, right? Guys, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm going to